Thanks for coming. I hope you're enjoying Summit so far. Just a quick reminder before we get started to please review each of these sessions in the app afterwards. It's extremely helpful for the speakers and for us. And so next up, we have Chris, who is talking about his time implementing ITSM processes at OC Tanner, but he actually currently works at Thumbtack. Some fun facts about Chris. He recently went on a trip to India where everyone thought he was an American celebrity and asked him to take photos constantly. So you guys should,
I was LeBron James, actually.
That's
yeah.
you didn't tell me that. That changes
I was
things.
that, and they were like, "Yes, you are."
That changes things. And he also loves Hawaiian food. So please join me in welcoming Chris to the stage.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Molly. Thanks, everyone, for coming out today to listen to my talk today about Next Level ITSM. A little bit about OC Tanner, if you've never heard of the company. It's an appreciation and recognition company based out of Salt Lake City. They go into large corporations and try to help companies appreciate their employees for the great work that they do. In June, I was given the opportunity to go work at Thumbtack, and it was just an opportunity that I could not pass down. But in the 2 years at OC Tanner, we did a lot of great work, and I'm going to talk about that story. A little bit about my background. I studied computer science at the University of Southern California. Go Trojans. I'm not sure if there's any USC fans in the house, but that's where I studied. I also played football in college, and for 5 years, I played professional arena football. I played 2 of those years in 2011, 2012 for the Utah Blaze in Salt Lake City, and that's my dog right there. My girlfriend and I have a tiny toy poodle. Her name is Tinkerbell. She's pretty awesome. She has a pink collar. I walk around with a pink leash, and I'm the big bad football player, but I have a little tiny dog with a pink leash. She's pretty awesome, and we love her. I'm going to get into a quick show of hands. How many people that work in the IT service desk feel like this guy sometimes? Overworked, understaffed. There's never enough time in the day. There's never enough resources. There's always a problem. You're on the phone. You're answering emails. You're trying to just keep your head above water, and you're just overworked. I definitely feel that way. One good thing about being here today is that you don't have to deal with those issues. You can actually listen to me speak, and you don't have to listen to emails and all of that. So for me, it's a nice break, actually, to be able to be here. The one challenge we have as leaders is that we can make changes within our IT organizations to have better processes and to have more time and use our resources better. We can do that by implementing the right processes and enabling our team members to use our tools to be better at the way that we handle our tickets within our ITSM toolset. We can also use those tool sets to pull reports and to use data to drive the decisions and forecasting for the future. So a little bit of a trip down memory lane for my journey through Jira Service Desk and the way that it worked at OC Tanner. In 2014, Jira Service Desk was chosen between Zendesk and Jira Service Desk, and it was the tool that they decided to implement in 2014. I actually work at Thumbtack now, and we use Zendesk, so I've been able to see both sides, and we're doing a side-by-side comparison of the 2 tools right now. In 2004, the tool was implemented. Previously, there was an in-house tool that was being used, and it wasn't very user-friendly. They didn't have any reporting. It was just an in-house tool that was built. Jira was being used on the engineering side of the house to manage projects, backlogs, bug tracking, and all of that. In 2015, I inherited what was called the helpless desk at the time. I'm not sure if anybody else has ever heard that before, but I had never heard that until I got to OC Tanner, and they told me, your service desk is completely helpless. They can't help anybody, and it was my job at the time to fix that. My first step in fixing that was to try to develop a vision and a mission around our service desk and how we handled our day-to-day. And the motto that I implemented was, it's better to be helpful than it is to be right. When I heard that the team was completely helpless, I wanted to flip that on the other side of the coin and say, if we're going to do anything right, we're going to at least help people. We may not be very good at customer service, but we're going to be helpful in resolving issues and doing it in a timely manner. Fast forward another year, and we were having a lot of success in Jira Service Desk managing our tickets. We wanted to integrate other business units from our client services group, from our purchasing group, and from our safety team. to be able to have the same type of success that we were having with our tool. And currently, to the present day, there's over 50,000 tickets that have been logged in the 3 years in Jira Service Desk, and it's running like a well-oiled machine. They're doing a great job. The service desk manager for OC Tanner is here. His name is David Ortley, and one of the analysts on the client services group, Kevin Labrum, is here from OC Tanner, so they can validate the things that I'm saying are correct, and if not, they'll hold me accountable. So before, we were the helpless desk. After, we became the well-oiled machine. And what I want to do is try to give you 2 to 3 actionable items that you can take back. This is my 3rd time attending Summit, and every year that I come, I learn something new. And now that I get the chance to speak, I want to share those things with you guys and give you some things you can take back, because I know in my past, I've taken back a lot of great information. Today's agenda, we're going to talk about where we were. We're also going to talk about where we are now and what are the next steps as we continue to grow. Where were we? The team that I inherited was also called, besides being the helpless desk, was the Ragtag bunch of misfits. And at that time when I heard that, I probably should have just ran out the door and not even taken the job, but I decided that I wanted to take on the challenge of helping this team be better. A little bit of history about the team is there was an on-site data center at OC Tanner that was being managed by 2 employees. One would take a look at the jobs that were running overnight. The other would manage the hardware and do those things. Once the data center moved off-site, these 2 employees were then integrated into the IT service desk. They might not have had the best customer service skills, but we had them work in the service desk. A couple other dynamics about the team. We had one person that was a Mac specialist, another person that was a Windows specialist, we had a printer specialist, a lot of siloed knowledge, but they didn't even share knowledge even though they sat right next to each other. That was another challenge for me, was to try to break down those silos and have people share information amongst the team. I would also be told that tickets would come into the service desk, but never come out with a resolution. They never got communication when status changed. We didn't let people know when things were resolved, so they would think and wait for a few days and then reach out to us and it was resolved, but we didn't tell them. We had poor workflows on the way that we managed our tickets. We also had shared mailboxes being used in the client services group. Before they went to a Jira Service Desk, they were working out of a shared mailbox. For any issue that came to them, went into this mailbox. And for all of you that have sent off an email and just waited for a reply, it's so painful and it just sucks. We wanted to get people out of those mailboxes and allow them to build a service desk workflow tool that would allow them to manage their tickets and issues in a better way. We also had Excel spreadsheets in our environment that were being used to track our IT purchases. Our purchasing analyst would log all of her purchases in one Excel spreadsheet that only she had access to. And whenever somebody needed an update on the purchase, you had to go find her. And if you couldn't find her, you couldn't get an update. Nobody knew anything. It was extremely painful for people working out of that Excel spreadsheet. Our safety program was also being run by a SharePoint form that would be logged for any safety risk in the organization. I'll give some more detail into that program later, but it was being managed in a SharePoint form. If you've ever tried to search SharePoint forms, it's pretty painful, and it's not a good process. Along with those things, the reporting that came out of a shared mailbox or an Excel spreadsheet or a SharePoint form is non-existent. You can't pull any reports. You can't look at any data. There's nothing that you can do to pull reports around those tool sets. We also didn't have any visibility for our employees and for IT about the status on any request. There's no visibility. We also had limited search functions. If you've tried to search a shared mailbox or a spreadsheet or a SharePoint form, it's extremely painful to do so. So what did we do about it? And where are we now? I talked about the motto that we implemented. I wanted to give my team a sense of purpose. Sometimes in the service desk, they feel like they're the team that is just given all of the problems and they have to just deal with it. I wanted to break that down a little bit and let them know how important they were to the IT organization. They weren't just a dumping ground for all of the problems. We actually were the face of IT. Whenever somebody came to us with an issue, it started with the service desk, tier 1, tier 2, etc. And if we needed to engage other teams, then we would do so. But once they understood that they had a bigger piece in the big picture, then they started to understand their value. When we built out our service desk, we built ticket queues for all of our escalated teams. So our operations team had a queue, our telecom team had a queue, networking had a queue, so we could all take those issues. We would do initial troubleshooting with tier 1 and tier 2, and then escalate tickets accordingly with the proper troubleshooting in those tickets if we needed to do that. We also created custom workflows for all of the different processes that we were working with. In our incident process, a ticket would come in an open status. Our tier 1 team would triage that ticket, and if they were able to resolve it by working with the customer, they would do so. If they needed to escalate it accordingly, they would. We also built out a problem management process where the workflow was completely different. We would be looking for workarounds being implemented to restore service as fast as possible. If we needed to do a root cause analysis on what was causing multiple incidents, we would do so as well. And then if we had to implement a change to our environment to eliminate that issue, then we would close the problem at that time. We also implemented a service desk self-service portal for all of our users to log their own tickets. What we found in our environment by pulling data is that 60% of our tickets were coming in through self-service, and only 30 were coming in by phone. People wanted to interact with us based on email or self-service versus phones. So we made that transition and gave people another way to engage with us versus just giving a phone call. The next part, after we were getting more mature in the way that we had our processes established, is we wanted to integrate our business units into Jira Service Desk so that they could have the same type of success that we were having. We worked with our client services operations team that was working out of a shared mailbox, and we built a service desk for them so they could have the same type of reporting and functionality. When an issue was happening with one of our employee-facing applications and IT needed to be involved, they could take the ticket from their service desk and seamlessly move it over to the IT service desk so we could escalate, resolve the IT issue, and then we could go back to the client services operations team and let them know that the issue had been resolved. And we didn't have to work out of a shared mailbox versus getting into our ticketing system. We could all seamlessly work in the same tool set, which was very effective for us. I mentioned the purchasing team that was working out of the Excel spreadsheet previously. We built a workflow for our purchasing analyst where the ticket would come in a request for purchase status. Once the purchase had been made, she would then assign the ticket over to IT, waiting for the equipment to arrive. Once the equipment would arrive, we would know who the reporter was on that ticket. We would take the equipment, we would deploy it out to the person, and through that whole interaction, the user knew exactly where the ticket stood. Their equipment had been purchased, it arrived, we deployed it, we didn't have to deal with the cumbersome Excel spreadsheet, and we were able to have a better workflow for our purchasing team. And the safety catch program that was built. At OC Tanner, there's a large manufacturing facility on site where they manufacture tie tacks, emblems, acrylic pieces, aluminum trophies, things that go out to recipients when they have certain appreciation moments. And we wanted to build the safety catch program to log any sort of issue that is related to safety in the organization. So if there's a crack in the sidewalk or cords hanging, like that would be a safety catch right there. If I were to look at that at OC Tanner, that would not be okay. They could log a safety catch in a self-service portal that was built in Jira Service Desk, and the reporter could see exactly where it stood. If I were to log a catch on those cables sticking out like that, once the issue was resolved and taken care of, our safety team would take that information, put it into the ticket. We've resolved your issue with the crack in the sidewalk or the cables that are sticking out, and now I know that that safety issue has been addressed. Previously, when it was logged in a SharePoint form, they didn't have any reporting or they didn't have any dashboards. Monthly, they pull reports on the top catches, the top people that are submitting those catches, and then there's a jackpot of appreciation points that go out to that individual if they submit the most catches. So it created a better sense of safety amongst employees just based on building this program. And it's also a non-IT related use case for Jira Service Desk that you can use this tool for things that are outside of IT, whether it's HR, safety, etc. It increased the visibility. We're able to use one consolidated Service Desk platform, and it helped increase the visibility into our tickets. So allowing people to see what was going on with their tickets was a problem in the past. And now, based on the documentation that's left in our tickets, the notes that happen, users can look at their ticket at any time and see what's going on with their ticket. People would always reach out to the service desk and ask for status updates. They want to know what's going on, but if they look at their ticket, they should be able to see exactly what's going on. I wanted to push my team to be better at the way that we documented our notes, and that if it wasn't in the notes, it didn't happen. I would always have one-on-one discussions with my technicians, and they would say, well, I did this, and I did this, and I did that. But if it's not in the notes, it didn't take place. So we worked at really getting them better at their note-taking. When status changed, they would inform the reporter of the issue so that they knew what was going on. And lastly, where are we now? Dashboards and reporting. Jira Service Desk has the ability to build dashboards and custom reports using filters. I would build custom dashboards using JQL filters, and the reports and things that I were looking for related to tickets were tickets that were being created, tickets that were being triaged and resolved by my team on a monthly basis. Every month we had a dashboard that would show the list of technicians and those 3 categories, and we would give out appreciation and rewards based on the top ticket creators, the top ticket triage people, and the top ticket resolvers amongst our entire team. It created some competition amongst the team members because they didn't want to be the people that were at the bottom of the list, and having that visibility across the entire team allowed them to really push themselves to be better at logging their tickets. I built a dashboard for our director of our sales team. He was hearing about a lot of hardware issues in the sales field, and those issues were impacting our salespeople and their ability to sell our software in our sales field. So I built out a dashboard for him to look at any ticket that was related to hardware and it was related to a person in the sales field. He could look at this dashboard on a daily basis and see if there were any outstanding hardware issues that needed to be addressed, and him and I would look at those every 2 weeks and see if there were any outstanding hardware issues, and I would address them and go from there. We also developed key performance indicators and critical success factors for our service desk technicians to increase their efficiency. We also pulled data to set appropriate goals for our technicians and make sure that they were, based on the shift that they work, that they were performing at an optimal level and pulling their weight for other team members. Now, what is next? Knowledge base. Everybody struggles with managing knowledge in their environment. For us, documentation was something that nobody wanted to do. Nobody ever wanted to document their processes. Nobody ever wants to share knowledge, which was something that was completely foreign to me. If I was always the subject matter expert, people would continue to come to me to fix their issues. But if I created documentation and shared that with others, I was no longer the single bottleneck. I didn't have to be the person that everybody came to. They could use my documentation and my knowledge base articles to fix their own issues. So I always struggled with this. We were in the process of integrating Confluence with our Jira Service Desk instance and building out self-service knowledge portals for our users to go in, and if they were to type a certain application, whether it was Excel or Outlook, it would populate articles related to that application they were trying to get help with. We were trying to find a way for people to resolve their own issues before they had to log a ticket or call us or do anything with the service desk. And knowledge management is the same struggle I'm having at Thumbtack. Nothing is documented. Nobody wants to document anything. We have over 100 applications that we support, and about 20% of them are documented. So a big challenge that I'm even having now in my current role is getting these applications documented so that everybody knows what they do and how to provision their access, etc. Further ITIL maturity, we were very mature in our incident and problem management and request fulfillment processes. We're working on getting our critical incident process a little more fleshed out on if we have a critical application that's down, how do we triage that issue? Based on the severity, we need to engage certain teams. We need to get certain notification channels going. There's a lot of different processes that go along with that, and we wanted to make sure that we had the right processes in place to make sure our team could function at a high level. The single point of contact. We wanted to shift to more of a traditional service desk, a single point of contact where you have one place to go for multiple issues. If it's an HR issue, you can come to us. If it's a facilities issue, you can come to us. If it's an IT issue, you can obviously come to us. But sometimes in your organizations, there's so many different places to go with the different types of issues that people come to in a different organization, that we wanted to try to find one way for the service desk to handle everything. And if everybody's working out of a Jira Service Desk, we're all in the same tool set, we can do that. If HR has their service desk here and facilities has it there, they can come to the service desk, we can take our ticket, we can assign it to HR, we can assign it to facilities, and we can be the true single point of contact for all things in the organization. Make it a lot easier on our employees. And the last piece is our asset management. We were in the process of establishing asset management not in Jira. There's an add-on called Riata that we were using. We also use System Center, and Ivanti was just recently implemented. So they're using Ivanti now for some of their asset management. And then when we all looked up in 2 years and we saw that we had logged 50,000 tickets and counting, we had to take a little bit of a step back. And when you hit a big milestone, like 50,000 tickets, we looked at that number and said, wow, a lot of things are broken. but not really. It was just us working through a lot of the issues that we had and making sure that they were logged in a timely manner. And the only way for us to celebrate was with beer, obviously. And we also got some cake. And Will Ferrell's pretty awesome. He's one of my favorite actors. I love Will Ferrell. In closing, I thought about where we were when we first started, and after 2 years of work, where we were at the end of that. And when we first started working with our purchasing team, we had a lot of pushback on, I don't want to use Jira. I don't want to use a different tool. That's not going to work for us. There was a ton of pushback and negative energy coming from her. But my manager and I let her know that all we wanted to do was find a way to improve her efficiency and her productivity. And we built her a prototype. And we gave it to her. We let her play with it for a few weeks. She came back to us 3 weeks later and said, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like that. How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do that? We answered those questions. We trained her. We took some of the buttons and moved them to different places she didn't like. We changed some things around and gave her another prototype to work with. And after another 2 to 3 weeks, she had more changes and suggestions and iterations. And we just went back and forth until she found the right workflow, till she had the right tools. And at the end of it, she was very happy that she wasn't working out of email and an Excel spreadsheet anymore. She didn't have people coming at her from all different directions asking about their purchase request. It was all in the ticket, everything was documented. She had reports, she had dashboards. She was now into one consolidated tool set, and she could work a lot more efficiently. So, if you build it, they will come, similar to The Field of Dreams. It's a pretty awesome movie. key takeaways that I want us to share as we close is create a compelling vision for your team. As much as we lead our teams and we deal with issues and problems every day, why do they come to work every day? What is their compelling reason to want to deal with issues every day? They could work at a service desk probably anywhere in the country or in your city, but I thought it was important for me to create a compelling vision for my team so they understood that the work that they were doing every day mattered. It wasn't that we're resetting passwords all day. It's that we're dealing with difficult employees. It's that we're the face of IT. And I thought that that was extremely important for my team to understand that. Whenever I would get an escalation or something wouldn't be handled right, I would always have their back and find a way to empower those employees versus continuing to weigh them down because they're already dealing with a lot of issues as it already was. We wanted to get our processes documented and mature. How do we handle incidents? How do we handle problems? How are we working through our requests? And we have an incident management policy and process that's documented for each of those processes. And we shared those processes with each and every team member so that they understood where everybody stood on how we're supposed to manage our incidents. And there's never questions about how we do things, and I could hold them accountable based on that. Our process when working with problems was completely separate because that would kick off other workflows that would change the way that we managed the problems in our organization. And if one person wasn't on the same page with the rest of the team, that person was completely disconnected from what was happening with that problem at that time. And then with requests in our environment, if we needed to get a new keyboard or if we needed to have an access request taken care of, what was their workflow for those things? And I've seen that if you document these processes, you share them amongst everybody, everybody's on the same page, you can be a lot more effective in your IT service management environment. And then using data to make informed decisions. Sometimes we can use emotion when making decisions on staffing or training or application, selection, retirement, making changes to our infrastructure. But I always wanted to make my decisions and my choices based on the data I was pulling from my tickets. So as I spoke about before, 60% of tickets were coming in through self-service versus phone. That was showing a transition of people not wanting to call us, and we had 7 people staffed on our phone team, and I only needed 6. I was able to take one person from my phone team, move them to another role so that they could better help my Tier 2 team engage with issues that were coming in. And just that one reduction in headcount from the phone team and allocating that resource somewhere else helped with their backlog and helped to get those tickets resolved in a better manner. And we did it all based on pulling data from the tickets that we were getting.